from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who needs an adjustment, but I'm not sure what I need adjusting. I need some fine tuning and some adjusting, and I'm not sure if it's my UHF or my VHF or my what a WTF. But it's time for Sleep With Me. What did you scoots? It's the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, Scoots. It's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix, and this is going to be an interactive experience or indirect interactive. So you're going to go to helixsleep.com/sleep. That's where I'm going now because I'm trying to pick out a new mattress. I moved. I couldn't bring my Helix with me. I miss it so much. So I'm going to take the sleep quiz. And I'm looking for a queen size. And, first thing you do is pick your sleep position. I sleep mostly on my stomach, a little bit on my side. I do it, I guess, but I'm tossing and turning most nights. So I'm going to pick toss and turn. My preference has changed over the last, traveling. I think I do prefer a firm feel. So I'm going to pick firm feel. Do I ever wake up with back pain? Sometimes I do. So I'm going to pick sometimes. And how often do you sleep hot? Every night is when I sleep hot. I got to stay cool. And so the mattress I got matched with was the Helix Twilight. It's a firm feel, 2-edge support, breathable cover for side sleepers. And I do think I want it with the Glaciotex cool cover and cool force layer. So I'm going to pick out some more details here in a little bit before I get it. But that's how easy it is to find the mattress that suits you and your needs, right? I want the mattress that fits my needs. Doesn't mean it's going to be the best mattress for you. That's what's amazing about Helix and their quiz. You just take the quiz. You see if it fits your needs. You take it with your partner. You pick the mattress you get matched with. And then it comes straight to your door, shipped free of charge, and you just set it up, and you're good to go. I mean, I cannot wait to get back into a Helix mattress. So let me know, take the quiz, let me know what mattress you get matched with, and then Helix always has great deals for our listeners, so check it out. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep to see the latest offers for Sleep With Me listeners. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for current offers. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match are limited by state law. Not available in all states. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots here. This message is for people who support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. So if you're hearing this message and you support the show on Sleep With Me Plus, you shouldn't be hearing this message because this is in the ad-supported feed that I'm running this message. So please get all your Sleep With Me Plus content set up. It should be in your email if you just search for Sleep With Me Plus or Supercast in your email. You could always reach me through the contact form on our website because I don't want you missing out. You have every episode as it comes out, ad-free, the full episode. Then every episode as it comes out, the story-only episode in a separate story-only podcast. There's bonus shows, read with me shows. If you support it, if you're a Boar Bestie or Boar Friend, you got all intros come out twice a month, an all-night compilation, like a 4-hour compilation episode. And those feeds go so far back. We designed Sleep With Me Plus with super listeners in mind, or super fans or people that love the podcast. So if you listen all night long, you know what's perfect? The ad-free episodes. If you fall asleep fast, you've got so many options. Story-only episodes, but you don't have to worry about anything interrupting, especially if you fall asleep fast. You can really build your playlist however you listen, if you listen a lot, but make sure you have everything set up. And also, if you haven't checked out Sleep With Me Plus, you know there is a 7-day trial, so check it out and test that out. Test out the story-only episodes if you listen all night long. If you fall asleep fast, test out the ad-free feed. If you love all intros, check out all intros. I think there's 300 episodes. In the bonus feed, there's like on some Saturdays, we put out a Posty Super Deluxe, which is experimental takes on episodes. There's Fearless Flyer episodes that have only been released on Sleep With Me Plus and Patreon. There's Ray episodes. There's tons of stuff to discover, and all your old favorites are there. And you could do all that if you have. Oh, actually, either way, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. You could sign up for a trial, or then you could log in and get everything set up right there. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. If you're already supporting the show there, log in, add all of those podcasts to your podcast app, and you're good to go. Thanks, everybody. Hey, you all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to attempt to do the rest. What I'm going to try to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, time, temperature, travel, someone else is at me, someone else is traveling, changes in work schedule, whatever's keeping you awake. I'd like to distract you from that. I'd like to create a safe place, like I said, where you can relax, where bedtime maybe feels a little bit less serious, a little bit less intense. Reclaim your bed or your bedtime as someplace where you can unwind instead of saying, what the frick, I just want to close my eyes and go to sleep already. Or, if it's the middle of the night that you can find a voice, once you get used to my creaky dulcet tones, you say, okay, this is my boyfriend. So I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, tangents, whatever that is. Words, I think that's not word stumbles. That's letter stumbles. Sometimes I stumble on words. Other times it's right on the letter. I think, what's the most stumbling, like what letter causes the most stumbles? I'll cross my fingers. Hopefully we'll remember that, because I have a couple. We'll come back to it. But if you're new here, let me give you a couple of things. I'm glad you're here. I hope this podcast can help. Thanks for checking it out. Structurally, the show starts with 4 to 5, 6 minutes of business. That's how we keep all the archives free and keep the podcast coming out twice a week. Then we have an intro, which is about 12 minutes, and we're in the middle of it. And it's kind of a show within a show to help you fall asleep for some people, for new people to make you feel welcome or to earn your trust, as I said. And for regular listeners, regular listeners use it all different ways. And then we'll have a story. Tonight, instead of it'll be like a story. It's a board game unboxing. Like an unboxing video, but without the video, without the excitement, like the furious unwrapping and unboxing. That doesn't happen. Without the looking, without the seeing of shiny. It will just be. I'll just be going through a new game I just picked up, a card game, and that'll be about 45, 50 minutes, and then we'll have some thank yous and good nights at the end. So all told, I'll be here about an hour. Even though it's a podcast you don't really need to listen to it. Now you can. So if you can't sleep, there's other listeners out there that are listening to this show for company in the deep, dark night. I'm here all the way to the end. So I'll be here to keep you company, but you really don't need to listen to me if you don't want to. Or if you want to try out barely listening to me. And ideally, my voice, even if the speaker or the headphones stay in the same place, my voice starts to get at a distance and, you drift away. That would be great. But whatever works. There's some listeners that listen in the middle of the night. There's some listeners that listen all night. And I'm just here to give the show the best shot I can. And it's not really to put you to sleep so much as to be here while you fall asleep, to be your company, to be your friend in the deep, dark night, a friend you don't need to listen to. You can say, interesting. What were you going to try to do next, Scoots? Oh, thanks, Brain. What I like to do is, with the intro, is create a metaphor for how the podcast works or why it works. Because I'm not really sure. I think the podcast is like, I get the saying mixed up. Is the sum of the parts greater than the whole, or is the whole greater than the sum of the parts? Whichever one of those fits is what the one I would say in that situation. But what I was thinking is, a lot of times I stumble over my words when I make this show. But just back, like, whatever that was 3 minutes ago, I actually was stumbling over the letters. And I never have thought about this. I think I just stumbled over the letters in letters because it sounded like I said leathers. And I guess I didn't realize how close those two words sounded anyway. But it's like, oh, wait, sometimes I don't stumble over my words. I'm stumbling over the individual letters. And if you're walking, or in my case, your brain kind of walks anyway. It tries to walk. Believe me, my brain's tried to walk out so many times. I say, yeah. Once again, don't let, just like there was a Doctor Who episode like that. I said, okay, I'll see you. Don't forget to bring some beans with you or something. Yeah, but I say, like, what words are you most likely to stumble over? Because, I think if you're, like, when I'm talking and with this podcast, I am kind of trying to monitor my audio, keep it sleepy and meandering, monitor my pace. So I say, hey, I'm right here with you, right in your ears, keep you company. And so in some place, like, it's hard to visualize this, but I am actually walking on my words, which you say, no wonder. And I can hear one of my phonics teachers saying, well, no, you never had any respect for phonics. You were always walking all over your words. And I say, actually, in my phonics book, I walked on that a few times, not even on purpose, just because I left it. And then it came in from playing in the mud. And the first thing in my way was my phonics book. So think about it if you're like talking or walking, if they were the same thing, and you're walking along these words, just like I'm talking now, which ones would be most likely to trip us up? In, let's see, what are those called? Uppercase and lowercase words, right? Like an A, either way, depending on your speed, for the most part, like in a lowercase A has that little bend. So I'd say, well, that one, it could trip you, but it's more of like a bump. So more than unlikely. And then a capital A, probably not, because you'd have to climb over it anyway, or you'd jump it. Now, if you had to, like, maybe this is why they came up with capital, probably not the most likely theory, but if a capital A was in the middle of a word, you could trip right over it. That would be, they'd say, who put this capital A here? This is not a good idea. Somebody's going to trip over it. Okay, so B, again, I think a lowercase b more likely, like, use that, like, vault over it, or you'd bump into it versus tripping over it. And again, capital B, probably just bump into it, or, like, get up and slide down. C, I'd say a C, like uppercase C, not trouble. Let's just stick with lowercase letters, because that's usually I'm tripping in the middle of a sentence anyway. And we got, I don't know how many letters are in the alphabet, but we don't have all night. A lowercase, a C you could trip over, but like I'd say that's in the more like possible, but not like more possible than likely, or no, less like more possible than unlikely, but not likely. A, B, C, D. D, you definitely, just like a B, bump into it. Now, you could, it could, like, if you're really, like, don't walk around letters, like, on your phone, because if it's at the start of a word, you could, like, bump your shin on it and then bump into the upper part of it. So don't use your phone when you're walking on letters either. Like, don't text and walk on letters or in general. This is like this isn't a bit, like, this is just part of my dyslexia. Is I can't jump in the middle of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E. E, I'd say, I don't know if it's the biggest offender, but that one's a tripper. Because even if you think you're going to step over it or on it, you could get it caught under that awning or whatever you want to call it and get your foot in there, and then you're going to take a tumble. So E, put it on the list. First letter on the list is E. No offense, E. You're just no offense, E. You're a menace to those of us walking. I got to get through the whole alphabet. F, you'd bump into A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G could be trippy, but more likely that's like a rock you'd step on. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, bump into. I, definitely put that in the trip list. So maybe these vowels, H, I, J, that's a tripper, because it's just an I with a hook on the bottom. J, J, K, you'd bump into, or I would, but I wouldn't trip over it. It's a whole different podcast opening. Letters I bump into on a regular basis. I say, hey, sorry about that, K. And no, sorry, I wasn't looking where I was going. And they say, my, you have beautiful eyes. K, H-I-J-K-L, bump into that one. H-I-J-K-L-M. M and N are probably, they could be, you could skin a knee on an M because you might think you're over the first hump and then the second one. But if you put your foot fully on an M, I think you're going to be fine. Same with an N. Like if you're kind of paying attention, I'd say those are in the like higher than a 50% chance of me tripping over, but not in the level of an E or an I or a J. What letter were we on, by the way? M, N, L, M. Oh, I missed a bunch of them, didn't I? A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. O could be, I'd say O's in the 65% of tripping over, but not a menace like I labeled those other four letters. L, M, L, M, N, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. P, I'd put it like with an O because it's L, M, N, O, P, Q. I would say Q is more likely than a P because just the round part is facing you. Maybe a Q and a P are pretty trippable. Q, L, M, N, O, A, B, C, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. R is definitely, because you might not see it, kind of like one of those faucet things. Really take out your shins. Wear shin guards if you're going through a lot of R's. R, S. S is definitely one to watch out for. Probably not. I'd probably say like E, I, J, S, J, K, L, Q, R, S, T. No, U, that's the number one offender. No offense, you. But you are, along with some of these other ones, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. All of those, the whole end of the alphabet. Don't walk near it. I never thought about that till this moment in my life. Who would have thought I had to live that long to say, oh, not all the letters. You can walk on some letters, but don't go near the end of the alphabet unless you're really paying attention, along with E, I, J, and maybe some other letters I forgot. But then when you get to S, then, you trip on an S, you bump into a T, and then who knows how you make it all the way to Z. And then it's Z, at least Z shaped, so you could like lean over on Z and put your whole body on it and say, how did I get here? I think there's let me pull that out. I was hoping it was Cupid's bow, but it's just a V I tripped over. Anyway, back to the podcast. Sorry about that. That's a pretty long, meandering intro. Take your mind off stuff. I posit that, that was both ridiculous and reasonable because this is the kind of stuff I do the thinking about because it's totally unnecessary to wonder what letters are the most trippable. But when you think about it, you say, well, he kind of has a point. I don't think I'll find myself in anywhere in human history except preschool. Walking on letters, or maybe like some I don't know, maybe some other thing, maybe the world will change and we'll be walking on letters, and then Scoots will probably be like not putting people to sleep. He'll be, like he'll be the kid president's the assistant to the kid president. But for now, I'll just use my power to take your mind off stuff, because you say, well, okay, I wouldn't want to have to step over an X, because who knows, like, might as well just step over a pricker bush, like you say, or V or W. Like, just be careful around those letters, please. Why? Because you got to also watch out for the U, the J, the I, and the E. And that's what I'm here to help. Little bonus info about stepping around letters or over them. But I'm glad you're here. Give this podcast a few tries. It doesn't work for everybody, but for most people it works for. It takes a few times. I appreciate you coming by, and I really hoping I earned to help you fall asleep, all right? Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and this message is only for super fans of the podcast, people that, particularly if you listen all night long or you fall asleep fast, listen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week, or you've been listening longer than a year, longer than 3 years. If that's not the case, this is not a message directed at you. But if you're in one of those groups, you're just like, this podcast has changed my life so much, I do have to ask you, would you miss the podcast if it's gone? And if the answer's no, or nah, I'd find something else, or yeah, no, I have 3 sleep backup podcasts, don't worry about it. But if you would miss this podcast if it's gone, and you have not considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, we really do need your support. We've been trying to get it since April, and I've been really working hard at just getting your attention. And it's fine if you've decided not to support the podcast, but if you've considered it and are putting it off, don't put it off any longer, because if you'd miss the podcast if it's gone, and you haven't considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, I mean, not only do you get tons of amazing bonus content, but it's what keeps the show around. So if you'd miss the show if it's gone, and you haven't considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, please try it out right now. Right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Set up the bonus content tomorrow. But if you'd miss the show if it's gone, take action right now. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Test it out. See what you think. And become a part of the future of this show. And it'll be around. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks. All right, hey everybody, it's time for like a random episode or a trending Tuesday episode that could come out on a Wednesday or Sunday, or kind of like we've only done this once with the show, and I've been wanting to do it again, and then I was like I'll explain it, but then I realized that there'd have to be outreach, and I kept putting it off because I said, well, Max is really the only person that I kind of know on the internet that's involved in the gaming business. And I don't know if I know Max T well enough. Another personal hero, somebody that's really out there, doing great things out there in the world and making great podcasts in addition to games. Max T at Cards. But even that, I said, well, that'd take too much thinking and worrying to get a hold of Max. So I said, okay, let's just put this idea on the shelf again, Scoots, till that Wizard of Oz thing happens and they give me the courage certificate and I can hang that up in the podcast studio. But then I found myself in beautiful downtown Oakland, California, with some extra time on my hands. And I wandered into a game shop, and so this will be the setup. I guess, I don't know, I always do things a little bit out of order. But so I've been meaning, so now jump it back. I guess this is like a meander, or this is more like a bend, or maybe this is a distraction. Not sure. Wait, anyway, I was thinking of something. No, just kidding. But so I've been meaning to get a new game anyway, for Sophia and I to play at the dinner table. Because of all the luxury problems I have, I constantly have to be disciplining Sophia for reading at the dinner table. I mean, not really, unless we're usually in the morning. I say, can you put that book away? You got to eat breakfast. But usually at dinner, I say, well, let's get some more bonding in here. And I say, I can only do, if you listen to podcasts, say, well, I need subtext in my life, not just in the fiction and nonfiction I consume, but in order to handle the real world, I needed subtext and layers. So I said, well, what about some family bonding, competitive family bonding at dinner? Let's get a new game to play at the dinner table. And so I found myself in this board game store, and I said, okay, let's look. And I was looking around, and I was the only person in there because it was the middle of the day, and the person working, or maybe the owner of the store, or the manager was like, hey, can I help you? And at first I said, let's not, I didn't say this, but I gave the look. I said, no, let's not do that. Let's just, I can't handle that yet. He said, give me about 15 minutes to peruse or fake peruse. And I looked at some games and I was actually buying time. So then I said, they said, well, can I help you? And I told them, I said, I'm looking for a 2-player game. I could play at the dinner table with my imaginary friend. I should have said that. That would have been funny, but I didn't. And, yeah, he said, okay. And I said, what do you think of this game here? And he said, that's a pretty good one. And we were talking about it. And then he kind of was like, what about a game? And I didn't tell him this, but I said, it has to be a card game because I took the bus and I got to put it in my pocket. But he steered me towards a couple actual board games because it was a board game store. And then we were talking games for a little bit. And I said, I think I'm going to get this one. Then I said, I said, okay, we also want to use your facilities, but I'm really going to buy this. Don't worry. And so I bought this game, and that leads into the why is we did the Goonies game unboxing back in Goonies Week, whenever that was. I think it was in 2017. I don't know if it was in the spring or the summer. And I said, man, that was really fun, unboxing. This will be more of an unwrapping and box opening because it's a card game. And so I haven't reached out to the manufacturer or the creator of the game. So this is what's interesting. It's very rare. I mean, I guess I could put it out anyway because it's like free advertising for the game. And I think if I just credit them, I'm covered. But I think of a courtesy, I would reach out to them and they say, oh, no, I tried your podcast. Like in case it's a person that's left a 1-star review, they say, I tried your podcast, but I don't think so. And I think it's a good thing. And ideally this will be very immersive. Now there will be occasional sound effect. I mean, not sound effects, but I'll try to keep it off the mic, but there will be slight unwrapping because it still has a cellophane on it. So this is a true unboxing because I think going into it fresh, it brings the thrill of the unboxing videos without the unboxing, without the tech. The tech products are usually what get unboxed, and yeah. So this will be good. So I'm gonna unwrap it first so that there's only a little bit of thing. And then I can crossfade too. So so I'll stop talking and unwrap it and maybe leave the sound effect in. But there, you just heard a little bit of it. Okay, so let's get the credits out here first. And ideally it'll be in the show notes and the link, and I'll have permission. But the game is trademarked. But I'm going to say the name of the game last. It's by Keith Baker, Keith Baker. And the manufacturer is Atlas Games, but the copyright is 2015 Trident Inc., doing business as Atlas Games. And the names of the games are trademarks of Trident Inc. All rights are reserved, so I don't know. But what I'm just going to be doing is I won't use any pictures of the game. So this is all in your imagination. And you could check out their games at atlas-games.com or just Google Atlas Games. Or better yet, go to your local game store. And here's the big reveal. The name of the game is and I love titles and humor, is Fairytale Gloom. And it's the size of a double pack of cards, so a rectangle. And then it says, the game of grim incidents and unhappily ever afters. And on the cover, it has a Wolfie Pooh in bed, and then a cat in boots. I guess Puss in Boots with an apple, giving it to Wolfie Pooh. There's also some hidden cookies. Then there's a tree, like a woodcutter that's made of wood coming in. So that's the cover, the front art, and it's really, really good art. And then here's the teaser on the back. And there is an original game called Gloom, and I was struggling between, and this is where I say I'm growing as a person. In a second, I'll tell you, but the original game Gloom looked pretty good too, especially for my daughter. We watched all the Addams Family movies, like the first two, like a lot of times. And I think she's read a lot of his books, so this is kind of humor. Yeah, but then I said, so then I asked the person, I said, this Fairytale Gloom, is it an expansion pack? Do I need the original Gloom? Or can I play it? And he said, no, you could play it by itself. And I said, terrific. I said, sold. If I can use your bathroom, this pack of cards is sold. And it was, a deal with, I said, you have yourself a deal. Contingent on restroom usage. So here we go. This is the back. It says, let's see. I mean, some of them, the delightful yet untimely, not so great stories of childhood. And I'm changing some of this around, paraphrasing it. Let's face it, fairy tales are awful. Giants fall from the sky, Wolfie Poos and old women run around. People take porridge without permission. And tell tales of stuffing. Fairytale Gloom is a card game about what really happens to fairy tale characters like Jack, Gretel, and Puss in Boots. Unfortunate thingamajigs where heroes get tricked by foxes, give up on grandma, and cry Wolfie Pooh too many times. And here's what this person at the game store really liked. It has award-winning gameplay with clear cards. Unique, transparent cards stack on top of each other to make scoring easy. The points you see are the points in play. It's that simple. And it's for 2 to 4 players. It takes 60 minutes, age 13 and up. Sophia's a strong 10, so I'd say... I guess, we'll see when I look at these cards because she hasn't seen the game. She knows I have it. I said, yeah, we're going to play this game this weekend. Okay, so I'm opening the box and there are 2 things of cards in here. And then, so I'll open the cards. I'll be right back. Okay, and when I was opening the cards, I accidentally found the instructions. I thought the instructions might be card size, but they're in the box. So we'll do the, kind of like we did with the Goonies game, we'll go through the cards and figure out if we can determine the gameplay. The cards are clear and comes with 2 card effect cards, which we'll look at last because those probably tell some secrets. And so this is the first deck of cards. It comes with Snow White, who is the fairest of them all. And she's got an unfortunate appetite for apples. And again, the art is really creative, and there's like a lot of extra art on the cards. And then on the back of it, it says Gloom. So I don't know if like you flip these cards over, it must be part of the gameplay. The next card is a Little Mermaid, a fish out of water. And she's kind of sitting there. She's not Ariel. She has really big eyes, and she's leaning on a rock with a bird on it. And she's kind of staring either at the water or her tail. Oh, I guess her tail, because it says she's trying to get a leg up in her pursuit of love. And there's even it's like their pictures are framed, and at the top of her frame is a book, and at the bottom of it is the masks from like Comedy and Tragedy. And again, really detailed. Next up is Joe the Giant. He's a occasional ogre or org, ogre. I always got it. Remember, I get that org and ogre. It's OGRE though. Ogre, org. At some point in my childhood, maybe I got orc and org, I got those two mixed up permanently. And I burned a pathway in my brain. And he is a purple person, like a kind of purple giant with pointy ears. And he's scratching, it looks like he's scratching his chin. And he actually is dressed. So he has a belt on and a vest, a button-up vest and pants, no shoes. I can't tell. This is the podcast closet, so pretty interesting. And it says he just wants to make an honest living collecting bridge tolls and selling golden eggs. And he's contemplating, it looks like he's contemplating a vine. Next card is the prince, who's remarkably charming. And he looks like a kind of prince you'd see in like the fractured fairy tales with Bullwinkle the moose. Those used to be on when I was a little. He likes sleeping beauties, long hair. Dislikes witches, thorns, no frogs, please. And he's doing the thing where you put your thumb up and you point at a person when you like go click, click with your mouth, like, hey, looking good. He's doing that move. And he has a giant grin, like $1,000 smile. He's wearing a purple cape, which is flowing in the breeze, a hat with a feather in it. And like really sharp. I mean, very fairy tale prince-like. Now, this could be our first controversy because all of the 7 dwarves are on one card. They can't be happy about that. You'd say, who is it, Grumpy or Grouchy would say, what the heck, we only get one card? It says a band of brothers. They've been grumpy ever since the dragon stole their gold. Wait, is that the right story? And the light in here is not ideal, so I can't, especially with clear cards. But there's definitely 7 of them. These look like a little more human. They all have beards and different style mustaches and beards, different shades of gray, red and brown. And they're kind of all cramped into the frame. And they're really like looking hard. And here's one of our favorite cards. The stepmother, frequently Live, or EVIL. Is that the first time I realized that EVIL and LIVE were the same, reversed? It's not her fault. She was misled by her mirror. And she's looking, I can't tell, like, if she's side-eyed or what, but there is a mirror in the background. Her hand's on her chin. And she has a sharp chin, and her hair's not, I can't tell if that's her hair or she's wearing, like, some sort of veil or head covering. She does not look very charming at all, though. Nothing like Agatha. And here's another character from Sleep With Me, kind of, the witch. Often wicked awesome. I added that. She's got kids at her cottage and farmers taking her grains, enough to make anyone cast a curse. And this witch is like stirring a cauldron with a ladle. Looks like she's about to taste it. She has one eye closed and one eye open. It looks like she almost has a marsupial pouch with some sort of a friend of hers in it. And she has I like this. She has the witch's hat, but it ends in like a curlicue versus being pointy. So it's a witch. This one is Wolfie Poo, both big and bad. He'll huff and he'll puff. And he might just go visit your grandmother and give her a kiss, Wolfie Poo. And this has like a shadow. It's all in shadows, but it kind of shows a smiling Wolfie Poo ready to howl at the full moon and say, hey, I'm here to lick and kiss anyone who needs it. Then we have the woodsman, helpful huntsman. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. I think that's from, I can hear that song now in my head. Monty Python, I think, sang it. And he looks very serious. He's ready to cut some wood. He's wearing, it looks like mittens, from what I can tell. A very full beard and a full head of hair. A thick green jacket on. So he's ready to go out in the woods and chop some wood. How much wood would a woodsman would? Yeah, I guess we need a W. How much wood would a woodsman whack? Doesn't quite fit, but that's the woodsman. And then is Goldilocks. She's a furniture critic, and she looks like a grouchy kid, a little bit like a younger Veruca Salt. And she's going to come in and she may sleep in your bed or use your chairs. And she kind of looks a little bit like she's pouting, and she's looking at a chair. It doesn't exactly look like a kid you'd want, even if you were, surprised sleeping in your house, especially if you were one of 3 little bears. Okay, now we're into a different kind of card. So these cards were the character cards, seemingly, and they're clear. All the cards are clear, as I said, and but they have white writing on black backgrounds. And the backs of the cards all say Gloom, with a crow or raven on the back. So I guess when the card's not in use, you turn it to Gloom, or when you can no longer use it in the game. Now, these next cards is probably some kind of action card. They're black writing on a blue background. And again, lots of details. Like in the 4 corners of these cards, one has a set of scissors, another has an apple, another has a mushroom, and then the last one has a bottle of something. And then the pictures still have a frame. And let's see, this one says, pay the piper. It looks like it has boots with wings on it, maybe. And it says all players, including you, must remove one unfinished character from the game. Then remove this card from the game. It also has a single pip on it. So I don't know if that's a number, like just a single circle. It looks like some sort of dice pip, just bigger. But I don't know if that's just so you can see it through the cards. So I don't know. So I guess that's interesting. We already learned that there's unfinished characters in the game. So let's pay the piper. The next card is Emperor's New Clothes. Okay, so it still has the same picture in the frame of boots and the woodsman's tools and some other stuff. And this says discard all modifier cards on one unfinished character. So these must all apply to one unfinished character. And I guess I do wonder if this game's going to be a little bit like Munchkin, where you have a character and then you can add all these modifiers around them. This one says the galoshes of fortune. That's funny. Choose 2 unfinished characters and swap their top modifier cards. So it's interesting. So it is like characters with modifier cards. So this is, we're learning. And all these cards have had 1 pip on them. Next one is movie rights. Place this card under a story card. For the rest of the game, that story cannot be moved. This one is the True Love's Kiss. Cancel and discard an unhappy ending card as it's played. Or remove and discard an unhappy ending card from a character. So this seems like a powerful card, very powerful. Hold on to that one. Lived in a shoe. This one has different art. It says the end, like a book, and it says worth an additional +10 with the money icon. It's a tight fit, but it's got a bit of soul, or got a lot of soul. That's hardy har. So maybe these are story cards. Make a nice meal. Worth an additional -10. for the goblet or flying bird card. According to Three Bears, you were just right. Here's another one that says, make one last meal. Again, it has a picture of the book. It says the end. You could play this unhappy ending card on any unfinished character with the sun icon, regardless of a self-worth score. So there's another learning opportunity. There's a self-worth score. I wonder if I could keep these in my pocket. It's the deal of a lifetime, literally. One last deal. Never came home. This one is worth an additional -10 with the bird icon. Home is where Wolfie Pooh is waiting in Granny's nightgown. Didn't wake up to their alarm. That's worth an additional -10 with the star or bust icons. You snooze, you lose. I mean, bust like the bust of the head of a statue. You used the wrong cup. Worth an additional -10 with the cup icon. You chose poorly. This one used up 9 lives. You didn't just waste your time. You wasted 9. Yeah, I'll try to speed through these ones. Had to deal with the stepsisters. That's, negative. Maybe you shouldn't have called them ugly stepsisters quite so often, huh? His carriage turned up late. It's nearly midnight and the pumpkin driver's late. And this is the last one in this one. Worked far too hard. Hi-ho, oh no. Now we're on to a new style card, which seems to utilize, this must be a modifier card because it is clear where the, in the center of the card is clear, like there's no art. So if you had a person a framed person or place, it would go over it. Then it has a circle with a -10 on the left corner. In the middle right, it has a -15 circle. And then on the right side, it has a wand. And it says, least new legs. It says, and the player to your right may randomly select and keep one card from your hand. They're all yours for a song. Well, all your songs. This one is a -25. It has a money symbol and a love symbol. It's about getting married. It says getting married. So these ones are not super interesting. Met a Wolfie Pooh. So these are like modifier cards. Needed to know a name. These are all negatives. So I don't know if this might be one of those games where you're supposed to lose points. Purloined some porridge. That's pretty funny. So the writing in these games is really good. Saved both slippers. Shouldn't have strayed. Here's a new card, though. This one has Sleeping Beauty in the middle under spotlights, and it says slipped off into Slumberland. And if you get this one, you can't play an event card. It's got -10, -10, -10. So you probably don't want that one. It kind of skips your turn. Here's one with a +10 or -25. Took a sword from a stone. Each player whose family has a wand icon on it must discard all event cards from their hands. Don't be a sword loser. So again, this is allergic to apples. This card is -10. Who takes fruit from a stranger anyway? Was caught by a curse. That's -30. Definitely don't want that one. Wish to have the curse reversed. You'll need a certain potion first. Discard your entire hand. Fooled by fairies. They don't play fair. Fooled by a fox. You didn't want those cards anyway. So there's a pretty robust number of these cards that I'm going to try to skip over here. And let's see. It is cool that they do have a card feel to them, even though they're clear and they're pretty stiff. Then there's one with a frog prince sitting on a lily pad. Flies nearby. And it says, was turned into a toad. Your draw limit is decreased by 1 card. Try not to croak. And it says -10, -10. And let's see here. So here's a little hint into the rules, because these are like the cards on your card. First, take 2 actions from among these options. Play an event for its effect, then discard it. Play a modifier on a character and leave it there. Play an unhappy ending on a character with negative self-worth as your first action only. Even though it's, no offense, but I said, well, that's C on the list. I would make it A. Claim a story if your family meets its requirements. Discard your entire hand or pass your action by doing nothing. Then second, so first you can take 2 actions, then you can draw up, back up to your draw limit, which is 5, unless you have an effect that's changed it. And then card effects, there's different card effects applied to the player who they were played on, not necessarily the player who played them. There's immediate effects, which are resolved right away. Continuous effects, which continue. They each have a different symbol. The immediate effects is an arrow going to the right. Continuous effects is a circle with an arrow inside it going to the left. Kind of like it continues to affect the game for as long as their effects text is visible. Persistent effects, which is 2 kind of circles rotating in clockwise order. Keep working for as long as the portrait picture remains visible, even if their effect text is covered. And then response effects can only be played during another player's turn in response to something specific. And then there's another deck of cards, but I'm going to skip the action cards and go to the characters, and then we'll go to the rules. So here we go. These are the characters in the other deck. Baby Bear, who's a porridge enthusiast. Nobody puts Baby Bear in a corner, and it's a bear looking at an empty bowl of porridge, unhappy. Then there's a Barnabas Porker, an enterprising little pig. And I just dropped all the cards on the floor. So I'm going to keep going though, because I still have some character cards. But just full disclosure, I went to turn and they all fell on the floor, except for the ones in my hand, which is Cinderella, a mysterious maid, and she's holding her glass slipper, kind of smiling. She's got glass slippers and a pumped-up pumpkin. It's good to have a godmother. Then we have grandmother. Your grandmother says, as if her teeth weren't strange enough, rumor has it she swallowed a fly. And it's kind of a picture of a sweet woman with a watch on or something in bed reading a book. Really, it's very charming. Then we have Hansel and Gretel. It says homewreckers. They look a little bit like Charlie Brown drawing meets Calvin and Hobbes. These kids will eat you out of house and home, really. And they're kind of eating candy from the house. Then we have Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. All of his problems amount to a hill of beans, and he looks very eager. He's just climbing the vine. Oh, then the wooden boy was Pinocchio from the cover, a living doll. He's a head by a nose. That's Pinocchio. How about Puss in Boots? It's a clever cat. And he's kind of got his eyes closed, and he's putting out his hand to get 5. He's making his mark with his made-up marquee. Making his mark with his made-up marquee. Then I have one with the harp, like the singing harp or whatever. It says, was rewarded with riches. And this seems to be a positive modifier card because it's got +10s on it. was the belle of the ball. That's a modifier, plus 20. Then there's one, went back to bed. There's one from Beauty and the Beast, became a beast. Discard one card from your hand. So it's a negative modifier. Okay, I picked up the cards from the floor, but the podcast studio looks a little bit like, I don't know if you listen to Dear John and Hank, but how John says his car looks. There's a lot of stuff on the floor of the podcast studio, papers and stuff. So hopefully I didn't lose any cards down there. But these other cards, there's some modifiers. Let's do some modifiers with pictures. There's the magic mirror. And the magic mirror looks like it's giving out bad advice. Worth a negative 15 points. There's an ugly duckling card with a bunch of ducklings. These must be family cards because this is negative 10 points for each family member. Brick house. Cancel and discard cards. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Happy ending. Into the woods. Midnight. These must be the story cards, maybe. Cried wolf once too often. Dealt with some skin stuff. Became foam. Prepared a picnic. Let's see what else we got. Did a dance off. That looks fun. Was ravishing. Here's Rapunzel. She was must have been a character card. Fair-haired and balanced. She's not one to split hairs. Red Riding Hood, Granny's girl. She knows all too much about life in the hood. There's a buddy Rumpelstiltskin, who's like a family card. Fairy Godmothers, must be a family card. Golden Goose. These look like good cards to have. Maybe not, though. Went up on a trip, dealt with some things. I had to fix the cards because a lot of them were upside down. Came down from the sky. Gets married. Nothing to do. So these are all like end of story cards. Lived happily ever after. That must be a good one. Brought down a beanstalk. That looks like a good, powerful card. Found first love. Holy mackerel. This game's got everything. Got a gift from the godmother. Came into a crown. That's worth plus 25. So keep an eye out for that. Carried a compass. Outwitted by an orc or an ogre, which would be both for me. Majestically. And that's the end of the card. So let's just take a quick look at the instructions because I can't really get a good idea of, even after looking at the cards, I have no idea how many hours this is going to take me to learn the game and then have my daughter see through that I don't really understand the game and see the tactical advantage it gives her. That's what usually happens with my dyslexia. My daughter uses this to say, well, Dad, I don't think it like it. I say, okay. So that's negative 5,000 for me, really. So this is the rules for Fairytale Gloom. Not too big, and there are quick start rules, which is nice. So the overview is the character. Each player has a family, and this will be paraphrased. 4 characters. The players are trying to make their own family the most miserable while cheering up the other player's family. So that's what the person at the store was saying was fun. Characters can become sad or happy primarily by having modifier cards played on them. And each modifier affects the character's mood. And there's event cards you can play for immediate effects. As the game continues, the character's individual stories come to a close. One by one, as unhappy ending cards are played on them. When an entire family has had an unhappy ending, the game ends. And you total up the scores of how they're feeling, and the most miserable player wins the game. Okay, so you set it up by dividing the 20 character cards on the table where everybody can see them, and each player chooses 4. All cards are laid face up on the table in front of their owners where the other players can see and reach them, and return any unused characters to the box. You don't use them. Then you deal the cards. Set aside the story cards and the reference cards. Shuffle the rest of the cards in the deck. Deal 5 cards to each player, face down, and put the rest of the deck in the center of the table with a discard pile. Stories. Randomly choose 2 story cards and lay them face up where everyone can see and reach them, but where they won't be confused with the discard pile. This is going to be interesting with dinner plates involved. Return the rest of the story cards to the box. They won't be used. Begin. Each player briefly summarizes how their day's going and how well it's not going. And the player with the roughest story gets to go first. The game's owner chooses whose tale is the most miserable if there's a disagreement. Okay, so quick start. Rules in this section will get you started playing it right away. But there are cardinal rules, too, which we kind of went through. There's events that have immediate effects and they're discarded. There's modifiers and there's unhappy endings. And you can take 2 actions and then make sure you have 5 cards in your hand. But that's not all. Fairytale Gloom is the most fun when the player taking an action tells or continues a story. Oh, so this is also a storytelling game. Think of it this way. You're creating a fairy tale with the cards you play. How is it that Cinderella became a toad? Did she find a magic lamp, or what happened? Was it a leprechaun? Why was Pinocchio pursued by a prince? Did he blow his nose on his pocket square? You decide, and you let the other players, you tell the other players in an interesting way. There are no formal rules for Fairytale Gloom storytelling and no right answers. But that doesn't mean it's not important. Quite the opposite. Many Gloom players think of telling tales as the best part of the game. Fairytale Gloom cards are transparent in some areas and opaque in others. As the game goes on, cards are often stacked on top of each other. Modifier cards on top of character cards, as well as on top of previous modifiers. As the modifier cards stack up, there's different worth values, card effects, and story icons that are covered up and replaced. The cardinal rule of Fairytale Gloom in bold is that you only pay attention to what you can see. If worth points are concealed, they no longer affect the character's score. If a story icon is covered, the character no longer has it. And if effect is hidden, it no longer does anything. Persistent effects are the exception to this. Cards have an anatomy here. There's the name. What is the card called? The self-worth points in different circles. The story icons. The deck icon. The effects. The flavor text. Oh, boy, I love that flavor text. Delightful or dreadful bits of story and commentary that provide entertaining ambiance. Flavor text is distinguished from effects text with italices. The portraits are entertaining or comic and delightful to behold. Some illustrations make it easy to tell cards apart. Modifiers never have illustrations unless they have a persistent effect. Other pictures make it easy to tell unfinished characters from finished characters, and all unhappy endings bear the same image. So we know that with an unhappy ending. So let's see. We got a few more minutes here. There's different types of cards. We kind of went through that. Character cards, event cards, which have names, effects, and share a common portrait image showing a pair of winged boots. So winged boots are the ones with the event cards. And I was right. And then the clear cards with just the circles are modifier cards. You can only play modifier cards on unfinished characters. So that is characters. Oh, this is helpful. That is characters without unhappy endings. So sooner you can put an unhappy ending on your character, The sooner you have them locked in, I guess. Then there's unhappy ending cards. You can't play an unhappy ending as a second turn card. You can only play unhappy endings on a character with a negative worth score. Once a character sees their unhappy ending, set it aside in a way that is clear that it's finished. Then there's story cards. Each story cards have names and effects. Each one has a unique purple portrait, and a special portion is it's a requirement, a type of and quantity of story icons, and they're never shuffled into the deck. And only 2 at a time are used ever in a single game. Game story cards begin the game uncontrolled on the loose and in the center of the table, not claimed by any player's family. In the course of play, though, any player can claim an uncontrolled story card by spending an action to do so, as long as the player's family meets the story requirements. For example, Rumpelstiltskin's requirement is 2 statue bust icons, and if your family collectively shows 2 statue bust icons, you meet the requirements. And players can, there's other stuff. There's special actions like discarding your hand and getting new cards, or passing. You can draw cards, free play, so some modifier and event can make you get a free play. There's alternate rules. You can assign characters if if people can't decide at the beginning which characters they're going to be, or give them out randomly. Rather than randomly deciding on stories, you can choose stories if the players can agree. Or you can play a very simple Fairytale Gloom and ignore every card's effect text. This can be a good way to learn the game for the first time with younger children. And we went over the effect categories, so let's get to the important stuff. Most important for most children, but not all. Some like to actually have fun or just enjoy telling stories, is winning the game. The game ends immediately, and when all the characters in one family are finished, that is when they all have unhappy endings on them. When the game ends, each player adds up the worth cards. And this is going to be hard for me because adding negative and positive numbers is rough. Each character's values are the sum of their point values showing in the stack. The player with the lowest total is the one who wins, whose family is the most miserable. And right here are the credits, so we'll see who did the art here. Concept and game design is by Keith Baker. Producers are Michelle Nephew, Jeff Tidball, and Kyla McCorkle-Tonding. The illustrations are by Jaime Fabregat, Jaumefabregat. The layout is by Kyla McCorkle-Tonding. Publisher is John Nephew. Here's a playtester, some lucky people. Veronica Burns, Curtis Chen, Kenna Conklin. I don't know. I got some see-through on this paper, so it's tough. Jen Ellis, Veronica Ewing, Richard Molina, J. Ryan Potts, Deanne Soul, Tristan Tarwater, and many more. And a special thanks goes out to Cam Banks, Jessica Banks, a bunch of other people. But I might as well say Bob Brendelson, Jerry Korick, Lisa Olson, and Travis Winter. And like I said, this game's copyright of Atlas Games, Trident Incorporated. Who would have known that Atlas Games is run by a secret giant corporation? I'm just kidding. Atlas Games and Trident Inc. Don't get gloomy about it. So this is Gloom, and hopefully soon me and my daughter will have a fun-filled, gloomy evening with this board game. And, you can tweet me, get me on Twitter at Dear Scooter or something, and ask me how it's going. Thanks. Hey, boys, this is Scoots. Before you go to sleep here, this is just a tuck you in message for super fans of the show, super listeners, people that listen all night long, people that fall asleep fast. Maybe I caught you somehow. People that listen 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes a week. People have listened longer than a year, longer than 3 years, longer than 5 years. If your life has changed, I've been saying this since April in a really direct way, but if the podcast makes your life better, it has changed your life and it's not replaceable. Like if you have something you could replace this podcast with, don't worry about it. But if you say, man, I'd have trouble replacing this show. Scoots didn't make the show anymore. I don't know how I'd feel about somebody else making the show. If Sleep With Me was just gone, or if it was behind a paywall, if there was less episodes, less free, or if the show was just not there, would you miss it? Would it be hard for you to replace it? If that's the case, please consider supporting the show. Test it out even. Just sign up right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Because most people that wait for tomorrow wait a few years, to be honest, or maybe never support the show. It's always tomorrow. Don't wait till tomorrow. If you're going to miss a show, support it right now. Set up the bonus content tomorrow when you're rested. But you could do that. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Then you don't have to worry about any of this. And also, like a lot of people that aren't in a position to support the show or having to cut back right now, you'll be supporting the show for them too, which is pretty cool. But if you've been thinking about it and you haven't done it, you're who I'm trying to get a hold of. Because a lot of people, more people have decided they're not going to support the show than support the show. But it's the people in the middle that I just can't quite get a hold of that are going to change the future of the podcast either way. So if you're one of them and you'd miss the show, support it. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks.